Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first video on the channel. Something I've been thinking about doing for a while. Never really didn't really have a good reason, but figured, you know what, UFC 325, Sydney, Australia. What a time to start. This channel, we're going to be talking about everything combat sports, mixed martial arts, bigger boxing events, a little bit of WWE here and there. I will have a Royal Rumble predictions video coming out tomorrow or Friday. So let's just start right now. We'll get right into it with UFC 325. Sydney, Australia, headlined Alexander Volkanovski versus Diego Lopez 2 is the headliner. First, let's talk about some of the prospects that we've been watching. This card is interesting. It starts out with the 4 fights on the road to the UFC, the 4 finals fights. Obviously, that includes a lot of prospects, a lot of guys. They're all going to be, you know, the one that I do want to feature, though, is Aaron Tao versus Namsari Badubayar. I think out of all 4 of these fights, this is probably the one I'm most interested in. Just because I think these are the 2 best guys, and they're really going at it. I like Aaron 2 as a prospect. Aaron 2, Tao. I don't really know too much about that. Anyway, Aaron Tao, he's 11-1. His only loss actually came back in the Contender Series. He fought in the Contender Series. I want to make sure I get the date right. Yeah, September 17th, 2024. He had a Contender Series fight that he lost by unanimous decision to Elijah Smith. Since then, he's really been on a tear. He had a round 2 stoppage after that, round 1 stoppage after that, and then his latest fight was unanimous decision to get him here to this. I'm excited for him as a prospect. He's one of those New Zealand guys, trains with Dan Hooker, you know, guys like that, Izzy. And he's marketable, which I like. You look at him, obviously the thing you notice the most, the muddy all over his face, the tattoos. Yeah, he's got the look. I think he's got the fight style. I think if he's able to do this here, that the UFC could really have something, especially in that Australian, New Zealand area market, which they obviously want to tap more in internationally. But no easy test here. And I'm sorry, Badubayar. Got 9-1. His only loss coming in the MGL. That was a while ago. He is on a 5-fight win streak. And now set here to face Aaron Tao. This fight should be very, very good. It is the first fight of the night. So if you were planning on just going in and watching the prelims, please pay attention to these fights. These are important. A lot of prospects. That's the one you want to highlight, though. The first fight of the night. Aaron Tao versus Namsari Badubayar. If I had to pick, I think Aaron Tao gets it done, but that fight obviously could go either way. Moving on to the prelims here. I want to talk about Jonathan Metcalf versus Oban Elliott, or Jonathan Mikalev, sorry, versus Oban Elliott. I like Oban Elliott as a prospect. You know, he looked really good when he came to the UFC. Slick striker, got a personality. I still think you could put him in that prospect category. He is coming off of his first loss in June of 2025. He actually was scheduled to fight in September, but that fight got canceled. Ended up moving it to here, end of January. Look, I like him as a prospect. I think Oban Elliott, he's got the personality, he's got the swagger, he's got the brash, he's got the fight style. I think he can really do something here, but he does have a challenge. And Jonathan Mikalev, 8-1. He's the home fighter. And obviously, you know, home advantage is everything. He's on a 3-fight win streak. He had a unanimous decision in his UFC debut over Kevin Josset. It looked good. This is going to be a very interesting fight. If I had to pick, I think Oban Elliott is going to be able to get it done. You know that's who the UFC wants to get it done. They've been featuring him on the Embedded. And he's the second fight on the prelims. So, UFC's high on him. I'm high on him. If I had to pick, I think Oban Elliott gets it done by decision. Now we're going to quickly talk about Jacob Malkoun versus Torres Finney. Torres Finney, an 11-0 prospect out of the United States. He's going to be, again, this is the away game for him. I like him as a prospect. He won his UFC debut, I should say, by split decision. Very close fight against Robert Valentin. Other than that, before that, he had 2 Contender Series fights. He won the first one by unanimous decision. Dana wanted him to come back. Then he got a finish in the first round, ground and pound. And that ultimately won him the contract. I think with Torres Finney, his build is very interesting. He's short. He has long arms. He's built like a brick. I think I want to see more out of him. Jacob Malkoun is a scrapper. He's not the most technical fighter in the world. He doesn't have, the submission artist. He's not an All-American level wrestler. I want to see improvements here out of Torres Finney, and I think we definitely can if he utilizes his game plan, utilizes the wrestling, and he really should be able to bully Malkoun around. But Malkoun is a scrapper, and he can make this a dogfight, and Torres Finney shouldn't be in that. So, if I had to pick a pick, I'm taking Torres Finney by decision. On to the next fight here on the main card. Tai Bam Bam Tuivasa versus Talishin Teixeira. It's been quite a ride for Bam Bam, to say the least. It really kicked off in 2021. He looked really, really good. Got a knockout win over Greg Hardy in the first round. Beat Augusta Sakai in the second round by knockout. Knocked out Derek Lewis in the second round. And then the UFC saw his star power, saw the potential that he had. Everybody loved him. He's a character. Everybody does love him. Then they fed him to the wolves. They gave him Cyril Gane. Cyril Gane beat him up for 3 rounds and then knocked him out in Paris. Then they gave him not any easier of a fight in Sergey Pavlovich. Sergey Pavlovich did the same thing, beat him up for 50 seconds, knocked him out in the first round. And then they go maybe a little step down, but still a great fighter in Alexander Volkov, who did the same thing, beat him up for a round and a half, and then submitted him in the second round. And then it goes down. Marcin Tybura, who knocked him out in the first round, and then he lost a split decision to Jairzinho Rozenstruik. So he's coming off of 5 losses. His last fight being in 2024, he didn't fight all of 2025, which I thought was very, very good for him. I think he needed the time off. I think it was warranted. And I'm very interested to see what kind of Bam Bam we got here. What improvements he made. If he's going to come in here more calculated, or he's going to be that typical Bam Bam that's just going to go out there and swing and bang, which is kind of what I expect here. This is no easy task that he has coming back. And Talishin Teixeira, who is 8-1, he did just get knocked out by Derek Lewis in his last fight in 35 seconds. But I don't know if that really says anything, considering Derek Lewis can knock anybody out, but also can lose to anybody, as we just saw last weekend when he lost to Waldo Cortez Acosta. So if we're not judging him off of that, Talishin Teixeira is a monster. He's going to be very, very good. He had a little setback, but I do think he is still a very good fighter, and I do expect a first-round knockout here either way, just based off both these guys' fight history. Every fight of Talishin Teixeira's career has ended in the first round. So it's kind of what I'm expecting here. If I had to make a prediction, as much as I love Bam Bam and I would love to see him get back in that win column, I have to unbiasedly say Talishin Teixeira first-round knockout is kind of what I'm expecting. Next fight on the main card, Mauricio Rufy versus Rafael Fiziev. This just has banger written all over it. Mauricio Rufy, 12-2, coming off of a loss, his first UFC loss to Benoit Saint-Denis. But, and he didn't look, he looked good in the first round of that fight for when it was up. But BSD was just able to out-wrestle him. And then he ended up getting the round 2 finish by face crank. I still like Mauricio Rufy. I think training with Alexander Volkanovski in that gym is really going to improve his grappling. And he's got all the striking in the world. So I do expect big improvements here in this fight from Mauricio Rufy. On the other side, Rafael Fiziev, he's a banger. We know that. Coming off of a win against Ignacio Bahamundis, where he had 3 losses before that, 2 to Justin Gaethje and 1 to Mateusz Gamrot. He's no joke. He's in all of these. He was in those fights with Justin Gaethje. He was in the fight with Mateusz Gamrot in the first round. Second round, he took him down and had that leg injury, which is unfortunate. But this fight, it's got banger written all over it. And that's what I do. I do expect this fight to go to decision. I don't know, because Fiziev is really tough, and I don't really expect him to out-grapple Rufy, and we haven't seen Rufy get shinned yet. So I am expecting this to go to decision. I will take Mauricio Rufy by decision. Co-main event of the evening, Dan the Hangman Hooker versus Benoit Saint-Denis. It's the same thing as the last fight. This has banger written all over it. It's going to be a 3-round war. I think that's what we're all expecting. And in a war, you can never count out the Hangman. I think Dan Hooker has a chance here. He didn't look good in his last fight against Arman Tsarukyan. Nobody has really looked good against Arman Tsarukyan so far, other than Oliveira, and Oliveira he lost that fight. And I guess Mateusz Gamrot did too. That was a grappling battle that was amazing. Could have gone either way. You look at Dan Hooker. He lost Arman Tsarukyan. Before that, he actually beat Mateusz Gamrot by split decision. I thought he lost that fight, but it went his way. And he beat Jalen Turner by split decision. I did think he won that fight. And he beat Claudio Puelles pretty handily. But before that, he lost to Arnold Allen, lost to Islam, beat Nasrat Haqparast, lost to Chandler, lost to Poirier. You know what you're getting with Dan Hooker. And it's just a guy who's ready to swing and bang. And he's never going to switch up his style. He's not going to fight smart. He's a psychopath. His best friend and training partner, Israel Adesanya, said it best. He is a psychopath. And that is what you were getting. On the other side, Benoit Saint-Denis has looked really good. He brutalized Beneil Dariush in his last one. Beat Rufy before that. Beat Copper Poet before that. He lost technically to Renato Moicano due to an eye injury. I don't know what you want to say about that. And then his only other loss in the UFC was Dustin Poirier, and that was just a banger of a fight. And I think he looked really good in his last fight. And I do think he is fitter, fresher, probably a little bit stronger, definitely has more power. Even though Dan has a chance, I think this could go either way. If I had to put my money on it, I would say Benoit Saint-Denis. I'm going to go second round TKO. Now on to the main event of the evening for the featherweight strap. Alexander Volkanovski versus Diego Lopez 2. I've went back and forth on this fight, not on who I think is going to win, but how it's going to go. Part of me thinks this is going to be just like the last fight that they had, where Volk beats him up for 5 rounds, looks really good, looks like the Volk of old, and retains his belt. And then Diego Lopez has some moments. He catches him with a combination. He gets the crowd going. Diego Lopez is tough, and he's got power, and that'll get you a long way. He did lose that fight to Volk, and that's what we're really going. He looked really good against Gene Silva in his last fight. You know, a lot of people are calling, maybe this is a little too early for a rematch. Say what you want to say. He's the name of the contenders coming off of a win. He's got the name. They weren't giving it to Movsar. They weren't giving it to Lerone Murphy. They're probably going to fight each other, and the winner's going to fight Volk. And that spoils my pick. I do think Volk is going to... It's going to be relatively the same. I think Volk's going to win. I think Volk's going to beat him up. I think this one could be closer. Maybe a 48-47 decision. 49-46. I think Lopez will look better, especially in the first. You'll be like, oh, wow. He looks better. This is going to get hairy. And then Volk's going to go to the corner at the end. He might even lose the first round. goes to the corner, gets a talking to, comes out, and shows why he's the champ. So if I had to make a prediction, I am going to take Alexander Volkanovski by decision. I think it's going to go all 5. I think they're both tough. I think if there is a finish, it will be the Diego Lopez side because he's got a lot of power. So yeah, I am taking Alexander Volkanovski by decision. And that will do it for the predictions for UFC 325. Sydney, Australia. Make sure you're tuned in. Gonna be a hell of a fight. Hell of a whole card. Be there for the early prelims. Road to the UFC fights. All the way to the main event. Peace.